We equate seeing and knowing. Oh, I see means I understand. It's maybe our most common metaphor, and it's common in many languages. The backbone of representational painting is knowing what you're looking at, really seeing it. And the best way to really see something is to draw it. Goethe, the German playwright, philosopher, scientist, poet, said, "I have not seen what I have not drawn." This is Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. So today I'm going to show you how I drew this scene. It's in Provence, France, where I used to teach workshops. And I want to show you the structure embedded in the image. You can't see it clearly here. If you go over a little, you can, but there's a distant blue hill back there, which I would put in. So you've got a horizontal here and a vertical here, and this whole plane here of these vines going back towards what is going to be the center of interest. And then we have these wonderful overlaps, one after another, taking us all the way back to here. And another aspect of overlap is how we have this whole foreground area here up close. And then the big intricate, we could say more intricate midground area with our center of interest there. And then, of course, the main background. But also we have this background, we could say, which takes us sort of from foreground to midground to background and way into the depth of space. It really gives us a good sense of depth on the picture plane. And if you look at it, it's basically three values: 1, 2, and 3. I mean, yes, there's some variation here and here, of course, but 1, 2, 3 values is really making up the foundation of what that whole image is. And here's a plein air painting I did of the same scene, just standing back a little further. So here's the demonstration. You'll see I'm putting in a big flat shape there. And if you put your marks in like this, the marks themselves become so distracting, you don't actually get an illusion. So I'm sort of using a pencil with a chiseled edge like that to get these flat shapes. And you can see that background I'm conceiving of as one big dark mass. I'll put a second layer in to get the real darks. This is sort of the layer for the sunlit bits. But you'll see, and as I go into that corner, I'm going darker and forming, quite carefully, because this is where I want you to look, forming the shapes of how those different trees are going to be right in there, because that's going to be an important point at the end of the drawing. And you'll notice that I have just gone from the background straight into that tree, right? I'm just seeing them as one big, simple shape, not, oh, here's one shape, here's another thing, here's a tree, here's another tree. It's one, if you squint at it, one big shape. And then I've put in a fairly careful delineation of the sunlit edge of that tree. There's the mountain way in the background. And then I've got a bunch of bushes in front. I'm just making this up now. And then here I'm putting in the second layer, the darker layer that really is getting into the darks of, I mean, this is as dark as we're going to get with a pencil. We're not going to get as dark as it is in the photograph. And then look here, that just delineating a bush with the sunlit edge of it, just putting it in. It's like that thing I said the other day about paint it and leave it. And then when I've got a ground plane going horizontally, I put the mark in horizontally. So the viewer is really clear. Oh, I see. Vertical means trees. Horizontal means ground plane. And then here you're going to see all those beautiful genêt bushes is what it is in French. It's Scotch broom. But here you're going to see those beautiful darks and lights of the yellow flowers. But each one of them just delineated by putting in the dark and then leaving that sort of curved halo of light in there. And again, ground plane shadow. But here you'll see what I mean. It's just There's a dense little mass of those things in there. And I'm just putting in the shadow shapes dark so we get that complex clump of bushes. But I find this drawing practice so meditative. It really heightens your attention, your awareness, and it's enjoyable because it's so engaging. You have insights into what you're drawing. But that's the thing I like so much about this. There are large, simple shapes in this drawing, and then smaller, more intimate shapes. And they play against one another. It's not just masses of little shapes that you're trying to spend, hours rendering. There's some big, simple shapes, and then some smaller shapes. But the thing is, this whole thing was done in the late afternoon. So we're getting those big, simple shapes of light and dark and those halos of light, which is sort of beautiful. Now we're really getting into the dark of that tree because we see how dark it is in the photograph. We really want that to stand out. But drawing like this is such a wonderful way to explore and understand something before you begin painting. It shows you what to leave out. I mean, this drawing is only 6 inches across, so you're forced to simplify. And this way you sort of extract the essences of things. You can strengthen an idea. It sort of consolidates it. And it also, points out maybe perhaps the weaknesses that you might have in your drawing. And you say, oh, I can solve that if I do this. Or, you know what? I'm not sure I can solve this. I should just maybe abandon it now before I pick up the paintbrush. Save yourself a lot of heartache, because, when you commit to making a painting, this stuff in here, I'm just making it up. You can see there's cars and roads and buildings back there. There's a ground plane way in the distance going horizontal. And then this is just actually a cherry trees, I think. I'm just sort of creating a really simple mass back there because no one's going to look there. Something to sort of fill it in, and then we're not going to think about it. But painting something like this really is a way before you commit to paint because painting is like a pretty big investment, sort of on your ego too, in terms of whether something's going to turn out or not. Drawings are kind of pretty low key in terms of if they work, they're great. If it doesn't work, well, you can try another one. You just flip the page and do another one. And here you can see I'm just putting it a dark around the lit vineyard, the vine there. And then it establishes the shape. You see, it establishes both shape, the dark and the light, and the haloed piece along the top. It's very much like paint it and leave it, like I showed in that video maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You just get a really clear idea of what the shapes are, the light and the dark shapes. And you can see that if you had this sort of clarity when you came to paint, you just say, oh, I'll put in that shape, I'll put in that shape. You wouldn't be fussing around a lot because you sort of see the main shapes and how they're interacting with one another. And the other thing is I find when I've found a drawing that really works well, I'm actually more excited to paint it when I'm done. It's not like, oh, now I've done it. I'm seeing the potential as a painting and I'm excited to get started because I've seen how these shapes are going to interact and how I'm going to make it work. This is exactly what my course, Mastering Composition, teaches, how to see in shapes and how to think about structure as a tool to use before you begin to paint. And we only offer it once a year, but as it happens, we're opening it for registration April 7th. You can see that by having this sort of structure in your mind before you begin makes the painting process a good deal easier. And you can see how that one shape there says, oh, I see, that's the shadow shape of all the vines. And rather than thinking, oh, this is something and this is something, and thinking in terms of detail, it's more like a right brain way of seeing the big shapes, focusing on the big shapes, because in the end, that's what's going to make your painting really come alive. These sort of dramatic shapes of light and dark, and not just sort of cataloging all the information and the details that you're looking at. So there I'm just sort of filling in the last little bit in the foreground. That's a big shape and I just have to put a lot of marks in there. And then I just wanted some contrast right there to pop those vines against the background hill. And that's it. And there's the finished drawing. I did two things. I darkened this, like I said at the end, but I popped that a little bit more. And I darkened the ground here so that it would pop more against this line of grasses in the foreground. The only thing I don't like is this weird curve here, because in the photograph, actually, it sort of comes more like this and then cuts back up a little steeper, pushing us sort of towards structurally the center of interest. So I would adjust that. I do hope you found that helpful. The writer Ursula Le Guin said, writing without structure is like trying to walk without bones. And it holds true of drawing and painting as well. So my very best wishes to you until our next YouTube video. All the best, and bye for now.